I stood in front of the mirror and straightened my tie. My hands shook with excitement instead of fear. Tonight was supposed to be the happiest night of my life. I smiled and whispered, "Everything we dreamed about is finally here." Daniel laughed from the doorway. "You look like you're about to pitch to 100 investors." "I've done that before." "I know. This feels harder." "Why?" "Because tonight isn't about business." He grinned. "It's about Olivia." I nodded. "She believed in me when nobody else did. We built this company together. Tonight we celebrate our engagement, and next year we'll be married." Daniel patted my shoulder. "You deserve this, Ethan." "Thanks. You'd better not cry during your speech." "I won't." "You absolutely will." I laughed. "Maybe just a little." When I entered the ballroom, everyone applauded. Our employees smiled. Investors raised their glasses. Friends congratulated me. I searched the room until I found Olivia wearing a sparkling white dress. She walked toward me with a bright smile. "You look handsome," she said. "So do you." "Nervous?" "A little." She squeezed my hand. "Relax. Everything is perfect." "I love you." She hesitated for a moment before replying, "Let's enjoy the evening." That tiny pause felt strange, but I ignored it. The music softened as I stepped onto the stage. "Thank you, everyone," I said. This company started with 2 laptops, 1 tiny apartment, and 2 impossible dreamers. People laughed. I couldn't have done any of this without Olivia. She is my partner in business, my best friend, and the woman I want beside me forever. Everyone clapped. I looked at Olivia. "I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you." Before she answered, the ballroom doors opened. Every conversation stopped. A tall man walked inside wearing an expensive suit. Cameras flashed around him. Someone whispered, "That's Victor Sterling." Another voice said, "The billionaire?" I stared at him, confused. Victor smiled confidently and walked straight toward Olivia. He kissed her hand. "Sorry I'm late," he said. Olivia smiled in a way I hadn't seen for months. "You made it." I frowned. "Olivia," I asked quietly, "what's going on?" She looked at me without emotion. "We need to talk." "Now?" "Yes." I forced a smile for the guests. "Then let's talk." She stepped onto the stage beside me. The room became silent. She took a deep breath. "Ethan, our engagement is over." My heartbeat stopped. "What? I can't marry you." I laughed nervously. "This isn't funny. I'm serious." I stared at her. "What happened?" She looked directly into my eyes. "I've made my decision." "What decision?" "I'm choosing Victor." The room exploded with shocked whispers. I felt my legs weaken. "You can't mean that." "I do. We built everything together. We built a company," she replied. "But I want a different life." I whispered, "Our life." She shook her head. "Victor can give me everything you never could." I looked at Victor. He simply smiled. I turned back to Olivia. "Is this because of money?" "It's about opportunity." "It's the same thing." "No, Ethan." "Then explain it." "I don't want to spend years hoping we become billionaires. We're already successful." "Successful isn't enough anymore." My voice cracked. "So our love has a price?" She didn't answer. Instead, she slowly removed the engagement ring. She placed it in my hand. "I don't need this anymore." The tiny ring suddenly felt heavier than the entire building. I closed my fingers around it. "Please," I whispered, "don't do this here." She crossed her arms. "This is exactly where I should do it." "You're humiliating me." "I'm being honest." I looked around. Employees lowered their eyes. Investors whispered behind their glasses. Friends avoided looking at me. Victor stepped forward. "Ethan," he said calmly, "don't take this personally." I laughed bitterly. "You stole my fiancée. I offered her a better future." I answered, "No. You offered her a higher number." Olivia sighed. "You'll never understand." "I understand perfectly." She folded her arms. "Then accept it." I slipped the ring into my pocket. "I loved you." "I know." I trusted you. I know. You promised forever. People change. I swallowed the pain burning inside my chest. I guess they do. Without another word, I walked off the stage. Nobody stopped me. Nobody defended me. I reached the parking lot before I finally heard footsteps. Ethan. I turned around. Daniel ran toward me. Wait. I don't want anyone to see me. I don't care. I lost everything. You lost someone who stopped believing in you. It feels the same. He stood beside me. This isn't the end. It feels like it. He looked me straight in the eyes. One day she'll regret tonight. I shook my head. You don't know that. I do. Why? Because people who choose money over loyalty always lose something they can't buy. I stared at the engagement ring resting inside my trembling hand. I hope you're right. I am. I wanted to believe him. I simply couldn't. 3 days after Olivia ended our engagement, my phone finally rang. Mr. Carter, a calm female voice said, the board meeting starts in 30 minutes. I wasn't told about a meeting. You've been requested to attend. By who? The CEO. I laughed bitterly. Of course. When I entered the conference room, nobody smiled. The same people who had once praised my ideas avoided my eyes. Olivia sat at the head of the table. Victor stood beside the window with his arms crossed. Olivia looked at me. Please sit down. I'd rather stand. She nodded. Fine. The company lawyer cleared his throat. This meeting concerns executive restructuring. I frowned. What restructuring? Olivia answered without hesitation. You. What about me? The board has voted to remove you as Chief Technology Officer. I stared at her. You didn't even let me defend myself. The decision has already been made. I looked around the room. Does anyone here believe I deserve this? Silence. I pointed at the company's logo on the wall. I wrote the first version of our software. Nobody answered. I spent 5 years sleeping in the office. Still silence. I skipped birthdays, holidays, and family dinners. One investor finally spoke. Ethan, business requires difficult choices. I smiled sadly. No, this requires cowardice. Olivia folded her hands. You no longer fit the company's future. I built that future. Victor spoke calmly. Companies evolve. They don't erase their founders. They replace people who become unnecessary. His words hit harder than I expected. The lawyer slid a folder toward me. Please sign these documents. What are they? Your separation agreement. I opened the file. You want my shares? Olivia nodded. The board approved a buyout. For this price. It's fair. I pushed the folder away. It isn't. Victor smiled. Take it before the offer changes. I looked directly at him. You've been planning this from the beginning. He didn't deny it. Olivia stood. Security will escort you out. I laughed once. I know where the exit is. I walked out carrying nothing except a small cardboard box filled with family photos, an old notebook, and a coffee mug Daniel had given me years earlier. Outside the building, Daniel waited beside his car. How bad was it? They fired me. I guessed. They took my shares too. His face tightened. They actually did it? They called it a fair deal. It wasn't. I know. He looked at me quietly. Come stay with me. I'll figure something out. You don't have to do this alone. I appreciate it. Over the next few days, everything fell apart. My landlord called. I'm sorry, Ethan. I know why you're calling. The rent is overdue. I need more time. I can't give it. I understand. I packed my apartment into a few boxes. Friends stopped answering my messages. One finally replied. Nothing personal, Ethan. Olivia still runs the company. So you're choosing her. I'm choosing my career. I deleted his number. Another message arrived. Sorry, man. I can't get involved. I deleted that one too. By the end of the week, my contacts list felt emptier than my apartment. One rainy afternoon, I searched through old backup files from my laptop. I should just throw these away, I muttered. Instead, I opened another folder. A spreadsheet caught my attention. What is this? I read every page carefully. Purchase agreements, hidden investment plans, acquisition schedules. Then I saw Victor's name. No! I opened another document. It outlined a complete takeover of our company. My heart pounded. So that was the plan. Olivia thought she had chosen the richer future. Instead, she had handed control to Victor. If she signs this, she'll own almost nothing. A knock interrupted my thoughts. Daniel stepped inside. You look like you've seen a ghost. Look at this. He read the documents. Does Olivia know? I don't think so. What are you going to do? I don't know. Before I could answer, my phone rang. The caller ID showed an unfamiliar number. I answered cautiously. This is Ethan. A deep, steady voice replied. My name is Henry Lawson. I don't think we've met. We haven't. Then why are you calling? I've been watching your career for years. I frowned. You have? Yes. I heard what happened. So has everyone. Henry chuckled softly. Most people only notice success. What do you want from me? I want to ask you one question. I'm listening. Are you finished fighting? I stayed silent. He continued. Your honesty is worth far more than temporary success. I don't feel valuable anymore. That's because you're measuring yourself through other people's choices. What if they're right? They aren't. How can you be so sure? Because people can steal a position, Ethan. They cannot steal character. His words settled deep inside me. I'd like to meet you, he said. Why? Because broken people who refuse to quit often become extraordinary leaders. I closed my eyes. For the first time since Olivia walked away, I felt something I thought I had lost forever. Hope. I'll meet you, I said. Good, Henry replied. Now your real story can begin. I arrived at the address Henry had given me the next morning. It wasn't a huge office or a fancy tower. It was a quiet building with a simple sign by the entrance. Henry greeted me with a warm smile. You came. I almost didn't. I'm glad you changed your mind. I don't even know why you believe in me. He motioned toward a chair. Sit down, Ethan. I sat across from him. Henry folded his hands. I've watched your company for years. Then you also watched me lose it. I watched you build it first. I lowered my eyes. That doesn't matter anymore. It matters more than you think. He smiled. I'd like you to meet someone. A woman entered the room carrying several folders. Henry said, This is Grace Miller. She offered her hand. It's nice to finally meet you. I shook it. Finally. I've heard a lot about you. I hope it wasn't all bad. She smiled. It wasn't. I heard you were honest. I was. You still are. I sighed. Honesty didn't save my career. Grace sat beside Henry. No, but it can build your next one. I looked between them. What exactly are you offering? Henry answered first. A second chance. Grace added. And a legal structure that nobody can steal from you. I leaned back. I'm listening. Henry slid a notebook across the table. Start small. Doing what? Investing. I don't have much money. You don't need much. Grace opened one of her folders. I've already prepared the paperwork. You prepared it before asking me? Henry laughed. I was confident. I couldn't help smiling. For the first time in weeks, so am I. A few days later, the three of us rented a tiny office above an old bookstore. Daniel walked through the door carrying 2 coffee cups. I brought breakfast. I laughed. That's coffee. And optimism. He handed me a cup. So, boss, when do I start? You really want to work here? Did you expect me to stay with Olivia? No. I'd rather earn less with someone I trust. I looked at him. I can't pay you much. I didn't ask. You deserve better. Daniel shook his head. I deserve honest people. Henry smiled proudly. That's why he'll succeed. Our office had old desks, second-hand chairs, and slow computers, but every morning felt different from the last. Hope slowly replaced regret. Every evening we studied reports together. Daniel pointed at one company. Nobody wants this business. I read the numbers. They're ignoring its patents. Grace nodded. The market only sees today's problems. Henry smiled. We invest in tomorrow. I looked at them. Let's do it. Our first investment wasn't huge. Neither was the second. But both earned profits. Daniel grinned as he checked the numbers. We actually did it. I smiled. We're moving forward. Weeks passed. Each success erased a little more of my self-doubt. I stopped waking up angry. I stopped checking Olivia's messages. Then one evening Daniel frowned while scrolling through his phone. You should see this. I'd rather not. It's Olivia. I hesitated before taking the phone. She stood beside Victor at another luxury party. The caption read, Living my best life. I handed the phone back. She looks happy. Daniel shrugged. Pictures lie. I hope so. Meanwhile, our work continued. One afternoon Henry entered my office. I have another lesson. I'm ready. Never chase revenge. I know. Build something bigger instead. I nodded. I'm trying. And you're succeeding. Across the city, life looked very different inside Victor's company. I only learned pieces through business news and industry rumors. Large investors suddenly questioned several financial reports. Banks requested more documents. The company insisted everything was normal. Henry read one article and smiled. Interesting. What is? Big companies usually hide problems until they can't. I remembered the files I had found. Do you think Victor is hiding something? Henry looked thoughtful. I think someone is. A few days later, another report appeared. Victor's chief financial officer, Marcus, announced another expansion project. The media celebrated him. Henry didn't. He looks too confident. Why? People who hide numbers often smile the widest. I couldn't stop thinking about those words. At the same time, inside Victor's headquarters, someone else had started asking questions. Her name was Rebecca Collins. I didn't know her personally, but I knew she worked closely with Olivia. Rebecca noticed payments that didn't match company records. She quietly asked Marcus about them. According to an industry contact, he answered, Stop worrying about things that don't concern you. She stayed silent after that. Fear kept her quiet. Greed kept everyone else blind. Olivia kept attending expensive events beside Victor. She believed she had chosen the winning side. She had no idea the ground beneath her was already beginning to crack. Back in our little office, I looked around at my team. Henry believed in my future. Grace believed in my ability. Daniel believed in me even when I didn't. For the first time since losing everything, I believed in myself. I smiled. We're just getting started. Henry raised his coffee. No, Ethan. He smiled wider. Now you're becoming the man you were always meant to be. 3 months changed everything. I no longer woke up thinking about what I had lost. I woke up thinking about what I wanted to build. Daniel walked into my office carrying a newspaper. You should see this. I looked up. What happened? He placed it on my desk. Victor's company lost another major investor. I read the headline. They're calling it temporary. Henry walked in behind him. They always do. I smiled. You expected this? Henry nodded. Businesses don't collapse overnight. They collapse one hidden mistake at a time. Grace entered holding her tablet. We just closed another investment. Daniel grinned. That's our 5th profitable deal. I stood. I never thought we'd recover this quickly. Henry smiled. You stopped chasing revenge. I started chasing purpose. That's why you're winning. Grace placed another folder on my desk. There's something else. What is it? I received an anonymous email. I frowned. About us? No. Then who? Victor. She opened the message. There were no names. Just documents. I scanned the files. Large transfers. Missing approvals. Unexplained expenses. I looked at Grace. Are these real? They appear to be. Henry folded his arms. Someone inside the company is afraid. Grace nodded. They asked to meet. Did you agree? Not yet. I looked at Henry. What do you think? He answered calmly. Listen before you decide. The next evening, Grace met the anonymous source while Daniel and I waited nearby. She returned 30 minutes later. Well, Grace looked serious. Her name is Rebecca Collins. Who is she? Olivia's executive assistant. I exchanged a surprised glance with Daniel. Why would she help us? Grace sighed. She said innocent employees will lose everything if nobody stops this. Henry nodded slowly. What else? She believes Marcus has been hiding enormous debts. I remembered the old documents I had found months earlier. So it wasn't just a theory. Grace continued. Rebecca is terrified. Does Victor know? No. And Olivia? Grace shook her head. Rebecca believes Olivia trusts Victor completely. Daniel laughed bitterly. She still thinks billionaires can't fail. I looked through the documents again. If these numbers are accurate, Henry finished my sentence. Their empire is already cracking. Over the next several weeks, we met Rebecca in different places. Quiet cafe, a public library, an empty park. Each meeting lasted only minutes. Each folder contained another piece of the truth. Rebecca whispered during one meeting, I'm risking everything. Grace answered gently, I know. I don't want money. What do you want? I want honest people to keep their jobs. I admired her courage. You could walk away. Rebecca looked at me. So could you. I already lost everything once. I don't want thousands of families to lose everything too. I nodded. Neither do I. Meanwhile, our company kept growing. Daniel rushed into my office one morning. Ethan, what happened? We just doubled our investment portfolio. I laughed. You're serious? He nodded. We actually did it. Henry smiled proudly. You earned it. I looked around our office. It was no longer small. We had new employees, new clients, new opportunities. Grace smiled. You built this. I shook my head. We built this. Henry pointed at me. Remember that feeling. What feeling? Gratitude. Why? Because success disappears when pride replaces gratitude. I never forgot those words. One afternoon, I opened social media. Olivia smiled beside Victor on another luxury vacation. Expensive cars, private beaches, designer clothes, perfect photographs. Daniel noticed my expression. Still checking her page? I don't know why. Because you loved her. I wish that feeling disappeared. Henry quietly joined us. Love doesn't vanish because someone betrays you. It should. It rarely does. I looked away. I still remember the woman who believed in me. Henry nodded. She's gone. I know. But I still miss her. You miss your memories. His words stayed with me all day. Later that evening, Grace received another call from Rebecca. Grace answered on speaker. Rebecca, I don't have much time. What happened? Marcus ordered several files destroyed. My heart raced. Did he say why? He told everyone they're outdated. Grace frowned. Do you believe him? No. What did you do? I copied everything first. Silence filled the room. Then Rebecca added, I'm sending the files now. The email arrived seconds later. Grace opened it carefully. Hundreds of financial records appeared on the screen. Daniel whispered, This is huge. Henry remained calm. Truth always leaves a trail. I studied every page. The hidden debts were even larger than we imagined. Victor's company looked powerful from the outside. Inside, it was bleeding. I leaned back. This changes everything. Henry looked directly at me. No. What do you mean? This changes nothing. I frowned. It proves we're right. It proves patience is stronger than anger. I slowly nodded. Months earlier, I would have rushed toward revenge. Now I understood something different. Every wise decision had brought me closer to success. Every patient step had weakened my enemies without me attacking them. I finally smiled. I'm becoming a different man. Henry smiled back. No, Ethan. I'm finally meeting the real one. I looked through the office window toward the city skyline. Somewhere beyond those buildings, Olivia still believed she had chosen the strongest man in the world. She couldn't see the cracks spreading beneath Victor's empire. Neither of them knew that the truth was no longer hiding. And for the first time since losing everything, I realized I wasn't fighting to destroy them anymore. I was fighting to protect the future I had rebuilt with my own hands. I walked into our office before sunrise and found Henry already reading financial reports. "You've been here all night?" I asked. He smiled. "I've been waiting for this morning." "What happened?" He handed me a newspaper. I read the headline twice. "Banks refuse new loans to Sterling Holdings." I looked up. "So it finally happened." Henry nodded. "The banks stopped believing." Daniel hurried into the room holding his phone. "The stock is crashing." "How bad?" "It keeps falling every hour." Grace joined us. "Investors are panicking." I slowly sat down. "Victor's empire is falling apart." Henry folded his newspaper. "Not yet." "What do you mean?" "This is only the beginning." Grace opened another folder. Rebecca sent more documents. I looked through them. Marcus had hidden millions in debt. False reports. Fake profits. Secret transfers. I looked at Grace. "These records can destroy the company." She nodded. "They also explain why the banks walked away." Daniel smiled. "Karma works fast." Henry shook his head. "No. Karma works patiently." His words reminded me of everything he had taught me. Never rush. Never react with anger. Always wait for the right moment. Henry finally looked at me. "Today is that moment." I frowned. "What are you planning?" He pushed a thick folder toward me. "Open it." Inside were financial statements from our investment company. I stared at the numbers. "We have this much capital?" Henry smiled. "I've been preparing for months." "You never told me." "You weren't ready." Grace leaned forward. "Now you are." I looked at Henry. "What exactly are we buying?" He answered calmly. "Victor's company." I almost laughed. "You're serious?" "I've never been more serious. They're still worth billions." "For now." Daniel grinned. "I love this plan." Grace added quietly, "If the stock keeps falling, we can make an offer." I looked around the room. "Do you really think we can win?" Henry answered without hesitation. "Yes." The next 48 hours felt unreal. Every news channel discussed Victor's crisis. Every financial website predicted disaster. Banks demanded repayment. Investors sold their shares. Employees feared layoffs. Then Henry said, "It's time." Grace submitted our official acquisition proposal. When Victor received it, his legal team requested a meeting. We entered the conference room together. Victor looked at me and laughed. "Ethan." I smiled politely. "Good afternoon. I thought you disappeared." "I've been busy." "I can see that." He looked toward Henry. "So you're financing him?" Henry answered calmly. "I'm investing in character." Victor laughed again. "Character doesn't buy companies." Henry replied, "It does when money follows it." Victor pushed the proposal across the table. "This offer is ridiculous." Grace smiled. "So decline it." "We will." I stood. "Then we'll wait." Victor leaned back. "You still think you're important?" I looked directly at him. "I think your shareholders will decide that." We walked out without another word. Outside the building, Daniel laughed. "Did you see his face?" "He thinks we've already lost." Henry smiled. "Good. Why?" "Overconfidence blinds people." 3 days later, everything changed. Another bank refused financing. More investors abandoned Victor. The stock dropped again. Then my phone rang. The caller ID froze me. "Olivia." I stared at the screen. Daniel noticed. "Are you going to answer?" "No." The phone stopped ringing. A minute later it rang again. I rejected the call. Another message appeared. "Can we talk?" "Please." ***. I locked the screen. Grace looked at me. "That couldn't have been easy." "It wasn't." "What will you do?" "Nothing." Henry nodded with approval. Some conversations belong in the past. The following morning, another emergency meeting was announced at Victor's headquarters. This time, the atmosphere felt completely different. Victor wasn't smiling. His lawyers weren't confident. Investors demanded answers. Grace quietly whispered, "Rebecca is ready." Minutes later, Rebecca entered the room carrying several sealed boxes. Marcus stood immediately. "What are you doing?" Rebecca looked straight ahead. "I'm telling the truth." Marcus shouted, "Sit down." She ignored him. She handed the documents to investigators. "These are the original financial records." Silence filled the room. Victor looked shocked. "What records?" Rebecca answered calmly. "The ones Marcus ordered destroyed." Marcus turned pale. "You're lying." Rebecca shook her head. "I made copies." Investigators opened the files. One by one, the hidden accounts appeared. False earnings, hidden debts, illegal transfers. Grace whispered, "It's over." Marcus tried to leave. Security blocked the door. Victor looked at him. "You told me everything was under control." Marcus couldn't answer. The room exploded with angry voices. Investors demanded explanations. Lawyers began making phone calls. News reporters rushed toward the entrance. My phone vibrated again. Another message from Olivia. "Ethan, please answer. I need to explain everything." Asterisk asterisk. I stared at the words. Months earlier, I would have answered immediately. Now I quietly deleted the message. Henry placed a hand on my shoulder. "You've changed." "I know. Do you regret it?" I looked through the conference room window as Victor's empire crumbled under the weight of its own lies. "No." I smiled calmly. I finally learned the difference between chasing someone who left me and building a future that would never leave me. Outside, cameras gathered around the building. Inside, Victor finally realized the investment group preparing to buy his controlling shares wasn't led by strangers. It was led by the man everyone had underestimated. Me. I stood across the street from the company headquarters and stared at the glass building that had once felt like my second home. Daniel smiled beside me. "Ready." I took a slow breath. "I've imagined this day 100 times. Henry adjusted his tie. "Remember why you're here. To lead, not to celebrate." Grace handed me a folder. "The acquisition is official." I looked at the signed documents. "So it's really over." She smiled. "No, it's finally beginning." We walked through the front entrance together. Months earlier, I had left carrying a cardboard box. Today, I entered as the company's new owner. Employees looked up from their desks. Whispers spread across the lobby. "That's Ethan. He's back." I can't believe it. I recognized familiar faces. Some smiled nervously. Some lowered their eyes. I felt every memory rushing back. The lobby, the elevators, the conference rooms. Every hallway reminded me of the afternoon Olivia had ended our engagement in front of everyone. Daniel noticed my expression. "You okay?" I nodded. "I am now." We entered the executive boardroom. Victor sat at the head of the table. His confidence had disappeared. The shareholders filled every chair. The chairman stood first. "This meeting will begin immediately." Victor interrupted. "This acquisition should never have been approved." One shareholder answered, "It already has." Victor looked around. "You can't replace me." Another investor replied, "We already did." Silence settled across the room. The chairman read the final resolution. Effective immediately, Victor Sterling is removed from all executive authority. Victor slammed both hands onto the table. "This company belongs to me. It belonged to you." His face turned pale. He slowly looked at me. "You planned this." I answered calmly. "No. You destroyed yourself." Security entered quietly. The chairman nodded toward Victor. "Please collect your belongings." Victor glared at me. "This isn't finished." I met his eyes. "It finished the day you believed everyone had a price." He walked out without another word. Nobody followed him. A few minutes later, another announcement reached the boardroom. Grace answered her phone. She listened quietly before smiling. What happened? I asked. She looked at me. Marcus has been arrested. Daniel grinned. For fraud. And several financial crimes. Henry folded his arms. The truth finally caught him. I nodded silently. Justice had arrived without revenge. The meeting ended. Most shareholders congratulated me before leaving. I stayed behind. The room felt strangely quiet. Then someone knocked gently. Come in. The door opened. Olivia stepped inside. She looked nothing like the confident woman who had left me for Victor. Her eyes were tired. Her hands trembled. She closed the door. Ethan. I waited. I need to talk. I'm listening. She took a deep breath. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I stayed silent. I thought money meant security. I didn't answer. I thought Victor could give me everything. I looked at her. Could he? Tears filled her eyes. No. He only took everything. She lowered her head. I was wrong. I know. I hurt you. You did. I betrayed everything we built. Yes. She struggled to continue. I don't expect forgiveness. I quietly asked. Then why are you here? She wiped her tears. I want one chance. For what? Please don't remove me. I looked at her carefully. You want to stay as CEO? Yes. I can fix this company. I shook my head. It doesn't need fixing. It needs honest leadership. She whispered. I can change. I remembered the engagement ring resting in my drawer at home. I remembered the laughter, the whispers, the humiliation. I also remembered the woman who once believed in me before ambition changed her. Part of me wanted to make her feel every ounce of pain she had given me. Another part simply felt tired. Henry's words echoed inside my mind. Patience defeats anger. Character outlives revenge. Olivia looked at me again. Please say something. I stood. I won't humiliate you. She looked surprised. I expected you to. I know. You deserve revenge. No. What do I deserve? I picked up a document from my desk. Your resignation. She stared at the paper. You already prepared it. I prepared it because I knew this conversation would happen. She slowly accepted the document. You really don't hate me. I answered honestly. I hated what happened. And me. I paused. I don't want to spend another day carrying hatred. Her tears finally fell. I threw away the only person who truly loved me. Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Finally, she signed the resignation. She placed the pen on my desk. I'm sorry. I believe you. I wish I could change the past. You can't. She nodded. I know. She walked toward the door. Before leaving, she stopped. I hope you find someone better than me. I looked at her one last time. I hope you become someone better than the person who left me. She quietly left. The door closed behind her. I stood alone for a moment. Then I walked outside. Employees had gathered near the lobby. Nobody spoke. One person started clapping. Another joined. Then another. Within seconds, the entire lobby filled with quiet applause. Not because I had defeated Victor. Not because Olivia had resigned. They applauded because I had returned without bitterness. Daniel smiled. You earned that. Henry nodded proudly. This is what real leadership looks like. Grace handed me a new employee badge. I laughed. It still has my name. She smiled. It always belonged here. I clipped the badge onto my jacket and looked across the office that had once rejected me. This time, I wasn't standing there as the man who had been abandoned. I was standing there as the leader I had finally become. And I silently promised myself that nobody inside this company would ever again lose everything because of someone else's greed. The legal investigation continued for several weeks. Every morning, Grace walked into my office carrying another file. One afternoon she said, Rebecca wants to meet again. I nodded. Bring her in. Rebecca entered quietly and sat across from me. She looked exhausted. I finally know everything, she said. What happened? I asked. She took a deep breath. I found old emails between Victor and Marcus. Grace leaned forward. What did they say? Rebecca opened a folder. Victor never planned to marry Olivia. I frowned. Are you sure? She slid printed emails across my desk. I wish I wasn't. I read the first message. Asterisk. Keep her close until the acquisition is complete. Asterisk. The second one hurt even more. Asterisk. After we control the company, she won't be necessary. Asterisk. I slowly lowered the papers. So she was only part of the plan. Rebecca nodded. Victor used her. Grace sighed. She gave up everything for someone who never loved her. A few days later, Olivia asked to meet me. I agreed. She looked smaller than I remembered. Her voice trembled. Did you know? I know everything. Tears filled her eyes. He never wanted a future with me. I remained silent. I betrayed the only man who truly loved me. I quietly answered, yes. She covered her face. I don't know how I became this person. I looked at her calmly. One choice at a time. She nodded slowly. I deserve that. After she left, Daniel sat beside me. You okay? I thought revenge would feel better. And it doesn't. He smiled. That's because karma did the work for you. I laughed softly. You were right from the beginning. I usually am. That evening, my younger sister Emma visited my office. She hugged me tightly. I'm proud of you. For buying the company? She shook her head. No. For refusing to become cruel. I wanted revenge. But you chose dignity. I smiled. It wasn't easy. The hardest choices are usually the right ones. After she left, I stood alone by the window overlooking the city. I remembered the broken man who had walked away from the engagement party with nothing except an empty ring box and a shattered heart. I barely recognized him anymore. Victor lost his empire. Olivia lost her illusion. Marcus lost his freedom. I had lost everything once. Then I found something greater than revenge. I found myself. At last, I understood the greatest victory of my life was never buying a company. It was becoming a man who could never again be broken by someone else's betrayal. 6 months passed faster than I expected. One morning, I stood in the lobby of the company and watched employees laughing together before work. Daniel walked beside me. You changed this place. I smiled. No, we changed it. He laughed. You're getting better at sharing the credit. I had a good teacher. Henry walked toward us with his usual calm smile. I heard that. I shook his hand. You earned it. We entered the conference room where department managers were waiting. I looked around the table. Thank you for coming. Everyone became quiet. I continued. Today isn't about profits. One manager asked, then what's the meeting about? People. Grace smiled beside me. I nodded. We're announcing promotions. The room filled with surprised smiles. I opened the list. Everyone receiving a promotion stayed loyal during the hardest days this company ever faced. One employee stood. I never expected this. I smiled. You believed in the company when it couldn't reward you. Another employee looked emotional. Thank you. I answered honestly. No. Thank you. The applause felt genuine. Not forced. Not afraid. After the meeting, Grace joined me in my office. She placed several reports on my desk. Our employee satisfaction numbers reached another record. I looked through the pages. People finally enjoy coming to work. She nodded. Fear is gone. Good. She smiled. You know, you're becoming the leader Henry always believed you could be. I laughed. I still have a lot to learn. You never stopped learning. I looked at her. I couldn't have done this without you. Grace smiled warmly. And I couldn't have built it without someone worth believing in. I extended my hand. Business partners? She shook it. Always. That afternoon, Henry asked me to meet him on the rooftop. The city stretched across the horizon. He leaned against the railing. I have something to tell you. What is it? I'm retiring. I looked at him. I was hoping you'd stay. He smiled. I've already stayed longer than I planned. I still need your advice. You don't. I do. Henry shook his head. When we first met, You needed someone to guide you. And now people will look to you. His words stayed with me. He reached into his pocket and handed me an old fountain pen. I signed my first business contract with this. I accepted it carefully. I can't take this. I want you to. Why? Because you've surpassed every expectation I had. My throat tightened. I don't know what to say. Just promise me one thing. Anything. Lead with honesty, even when it's harder. I nodded. I promise. He smiled. Then my work is finished. Weeks later, the company appeared in business news again. This time, the headlines celebrated our growth, our workplace culture, and our leadership. Daniel walked into my office holding a tablet. You should see this. I laughed. Another article? He nodded. We're becoming famous. I glanced at the screen. Then I noticed a short interview from another city. Olivia appeared for only a few moments. She looked different. No expensive parties. No designer dresses. No cameras following her. She quietly spoke about starting over and learning from painful mistakes. I watched without anger. Daniel looked at me. How do you feel? I thought for a moment. I hope she finds peace. That's all. I smiled softly. Hating her won't improve my life. He nodded. You've changed. I had to. That evening, I stood alone inside the office where my journey had once ended. The memories returned, but they no longer hurt. The betrayal, the humiliation, the loneliness, they had become lessons instead of wounds. Grace joined me. Everyone went home. I know. What are you thinking about? I smiled as I looked across the quiet office. I'm thinking about the man who walked out of this building carrying a cardboard box. And he thought his life was over. Grace folded her arms. What would you tell him now? I looked around the company I had built once, and then built again. I'd tell him, losing everything was never the end. It was the beginning of becoming the person I was always meant to be. Grace smiled. I think he'd finally believe you. So did I. I stood behind the stage curtain and listened to the applause echo through the ballroom. Daniel smiled beside me. Nervous. I laughed. A little. You've spoken in front of investors before. I know. So what's different? Tonight isn't about business. He nodded. It's about your journey. Grace walked over holding the evening schedule. Everyone's ready. I took a slow breath. Let's begin. When I stepped onto the stage, hundreds of people stood and applauded. Employees, investors, friends, families, people who believed in me when I had almost nothing. I smiled. Thank you. The room became quiet. Years ago, I stood in this company believing my future had already been written. I paused. I was wrong. People listened carefully. I lost my job. I lost my home. I lost people I trusted. Daniel smiled from the front row. But I never truly lost my future. More applause followed. I found something stronger than success. I found people who believed in honesty. I looked toward Henry. He smiled proudly. I found mentors. I looked at Grace. I found partners. I looked at Daniel. I found friends who refused to leave. The audience applauded again. And because of all of you, I found myself. After the celebration ended, I quietly walked into a nearby hallway. A familiar voice stopped me. Ethan. I turned slowly. Olivia stood a few steps away. She wore a simple dress. No cameras. No luxury. No pride. Only honesty. I wasn't sure you'd come, I said. I almost didn't. She looked down. I didn't want to ruin your night. You didn't. She took a deep breath. I came because I owe you one final apology. I waited. I confused money with happiness. I know. I confused ambition with love. I stayed silent. I threw away the best thing in my life. Her voice shook. You deserved loyalty. You deserved respect. You deserved the future we dreamed about together. I quietly answered, maybe. She looked into my eyes. Can you ever forgive me? I thought about the engagement party, the humiliation, the empty apartment, the lonely nights. Then I remembered Henry's lessons. I remembered Daniel's loyalty. I remembered Grace's faith. I smiled gently. Yes. She looked surprised. Really? Yes. Why? Not because you earned another chance. She lowered her head. I understand. I forgive you because I deserve peace. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Thank you. I hope you build a better life. I'll try. She offered a small smile. Goodbye, Ethan. Goodbye, Olivia. She walked away without looking back. This time, neither of us stopped. Some stories only find peace when they finally end. A few minutes later, Grace found me near the balcony. Everything okay? I nodded. It finally is. She smiled. You look lighter. I am. Daniel joined us. So, any regrets? I looked across the city lights. Only one. What is it? I spent too long believing someone else's opinion decided my worth. Henry walked over carrying 2 glasses of sparkling water. I've been waiting to hear you say that. I laughed. You were right all along. No, you were. I only reminded you of something you already had. What was that? Your value. I smiled. I won't forget again. The music drifted through the open balcony doors. Inside, people celebrated the company we had rebuilt together. Outside, I finally felt free. I returned to the stage one last time. Everyone became quiet. I smiled at the people who had stood beside me when my world collapsed. I want to end tonight with one sentence. The room waited. Thank you for believing in me when I had nothing. The applause filled the ballroom once again. As I looked across the faces smiling back at me, I realized my greatest achievement had never been buying Victor's company. It had never been becoming its owner. It had never been proving Olivia wrong. My greatest victory was finding the courage to rebuild myself after losing everything. I walked away from the stage without bitterness, without anger, and without regret. For the first time in my life, I wasn't chasing revenge. I was walking toward a future that truly belonged to me.